Good morning, fellow travelers. Would they be fellow travelers you call
You need to be careful with that expression.
well, fellow companions, let's say, on the
Yeah,
road of life. Uh,
yeah,
we're going to do a little bit of delving in this morning to the road of life. And
yeah,
of course, one of the first things we're going to start with, I think, is the Euros, the football, which is very
yeah,
interesting. And
yeah,
we're going to go on from that to something almost even more ludicrous, and that is the Orange Order and their plans for marching
yeah,
somewhere. And then
yeah,
we'll have a look at Pat Cullen, and there's any number of other things after that. However, let's
yeah.
start with the first one, Pat, the Euros. And I'm going to start it with a question to you. Do you feel guilty for not cheering on England? I didn't even
Not,
ask you, did you cheer England?
not in the least. No, Jim, I got a. There's a family group. They were called the McGart clan. We're all sort of, and a couple of people said, "Jesus, England have already won it before they even land." You know, we've got the best team ever. Bellingham is world class. What do you call the wee guy from Manchester City, Foden, and so on. John Stones, and look at we're moving Trent Alexander into midfield. He's world class, and so on,
Yeah.
so on. Dude, they struggle like hell against Serbia, and Denmark should have won. But you know something? It's not the football I find interesting. It's the whole social phenomenon behind England. There's almost a flaw. I don't know what you think about it. There's almost a flaw in their character. It's the arrogance. Before Ireland would go out to someone feeling underdogs, and England go out with a superiority. You know, we've conquered the world type thing, and it's based on a false premise. The ability does not match the hype at all. And hey, did you watch Spain last night? The young fella, he's 16. He's after, I can't remember his name, by the way, but I've watched him now a couple of times. And there's another guy on the other wing, on the left wing, called Williams, as far as I remember. Jesus, Jude, if the Spanish guys keep performing like they are doing so far, they're going to wipe the face of England before they even get there. And as for Germany, are also very impressed. But Jude, it's a whole the Daily Mail, the Daily Telegraph. You know, no, the world fears England type thing, and so on. You know, it's. I don't know what to make of that. You really genuinely don't.
But here's the thing, Pat. Even England weren't being presumptuous and saying, "Oh, we're going to win," and we're really good. I don't think they said that much. To be fair to them, they say, "Oh, I'm getting really excited, get behind England." I don't think
Yeah.
they say we're going to win this World Cup or this European Cup. Um,
Jude,
the
can I
thing,
cut across you? A lot of it was the Vox pop in the street before the first
oh
match.
yeah,
All our fans. Oh, we're no, Jude, stood up. Now the pundits mightn't be saying that, but the fans in the street were, oh, we're going to win 3-0 and we're going to win
oh,
this.
sure, but
Everyone, there
Pat,
wasn't one said we're, yeah.
But Pat, if you were down at Croke Park and Donegal supporters were playing, Donegal was playing, and the Donegal
Yeah,
supporters were Vox popped, they'd always say, "Oh, we're going to win it. We'll knock stuffing out of Kerry," and so on. That's
yeah.
kind of the nature of it. The thing that worries me is this: I knew you'd be anti-English. I'm anti-English in terms of certainly football, and just about everybody I know here in Ireland is the same way. And there's a lot of other, I say, continental countries would take this line to them. I
Mm.
feel kind of guilty because, I have a son-in-law who's English. I've got two daughters-in-law who are both English. I have got three grandchildren who are English. And yet
Mm.
I automatically, I was longing to see them beaten in that last game.
No, I am not. Still, I'm definitely not anti-English, and I'm the same as you. My son's married to an English girl and whatever. But it's the arrogance, Jude. It's not. Jeepers, I have nothing against the English team doing well. In fact, Jude, I don't understand when England's playing Russia or somewhere why people are on the side of the Russians or the Yugoslavs or something. Like half of our people are in England, a lot of our players are in England, and all the rest of it. And I can identify with them. Sure, look, even bloody half of the English team. Foden's people are Irish. Declan Rice's people
Oh,
are
I
Irish.
saw. Yeah.
Harry Kane's people are Irish,
Hmm.
and so on. So I have no big deal. No, the thing that I always zero in on is this sort of arrogance. No, the bombast is not matched by the reality. That's what I'm getting at.
Hmm. I must say, when I watched Declan Rice bawling out "God Save the King," and boy, he was singing it heartily before the game,
Yeah,
I felt a twinge. I felt that wasn't right. He shouldn't be doing that. And yet the guy's been born in England and he's singing his national
Yeah,
anthem.
exactly. And we
So
know Jack, his parents
I
are
think there
Irish.
is a degree of fault within me, that I take such a negative attitude towards them. Um, but you're right. So the way the Brits talk up their team and the pundits as well, they couldn't possibly bear the weight of expectation they put on their shoulders every time they're involved in the tournament. But I'd go a bit wider than that. And I wonder, I think we talked about this one time before, is having football by way of nationality a good idea? I mean, the Champions League doesn't do by the nationality. It could be all over the world, but there's 11 players out there. Any number of things, other leagues and cups and so on. But at international level, to identify, well, our country will go in against your country, and we'll be passionate supporters of our country. I don't know if that does people good. I don't know. Some people would say it's a catharsis. They sort of get rid of all the bad stuff.
Jude, you've stolen my next line. That was basically what I was going to say. But I remember reading an article, and Jude, I'm talking 40 years ago, maybe even 50 years ago. I think I was at school at the time, and where it said that football, modern day football, had replaced war. That our warriors go out against your warriors, only now it's with a ball rather than bows and arrows or rifles or whatever. And it was actually a sort of, what would you say, a diversion from the real thing. So we could all get behind our team and show our pride that it's part of the whole human nature that even the Amazon tribes attack each other, and all the rest of it. So maybe playing football is actually a good thing.
Well, yeah, you argue a convincing case. Although, mind you, when you get down to it, it's only at national level. If anything, national level of football is the exception. The Champions League, the Premier League, all those, nothing to do with nationality.
Not at all.
Except you're one of these English racists who gets upset at the very.
By the way, you just mentioned there was an English. We got a lift in Spain with a guy. I think he's a taxi driver. He was a taxi. And he says, look, I am no racist, but he says, wild hearty support the England team. And I says, why? He says, the other night there was 11 black men on. That's a fact. I hadn't even noticed. I genuinely hadn't, And I thought, there must have been some match now while we were away. There must have been some training match or something. I think they played against Iceland. That's what it was. And I don't know, by the way, Jude, I don't know whether the 11 black men was true or not, but that's what he said.
Was he English, was he?
He was English, yeah.
Well, I know a guy I'm very friendly with. I call him good friend, lives in Canada. I remember back. Do you remember Viv Anderson? I think it was.
Yeah, it was Manchester. Yeah, Manchester player.
Played right back. And
very cultured footballer.
He was one of the first players to play for England, a black player. And I remember mentioning this fact that he was playing for them. And my friend now, who is an educated guy and a very tolerant guy, he began to laugh. And he said, actually, what are you laughing at? And he says, I was just laughing at the idea of a black man playing for England.
Look at it now,
people find it difficult to get used to something that's different, and we tend to suspect the outsider. Anyway, I think, are you enjoying the football?
Oh, yeah, my dear wife says maybe I should get up and move now and again. I've been
watching all the games.
I know someone yesterday was a disaster. I started watching the England game, and then I started watching the Italy Spain game, and I'd been watching what was the other one, and I spent nearly my day.
There's 3 games.
I'm not going to do it today. Definitely not. I'm going to do something else today.
I've been rationing myself. I watch the English games, and then if there's some team that I know there's a good player or some players I'm familiar with, I'll watch that. But you're right. There have been moments, in my opinion, of sheer beauty in terms of goals. The one that springs to mind, I didn't see some of the other ones you're talking about, but there's a goal was scored by, I think, a young Serbian teenager.
Yeah.
He got the ball 25 yards out, and he hurled it into the top of the net. It just was beautiful. It was like a mouthful of cold beer on a warm day. That's what it felt like.
Absolutely.
Just thinking about it, it makes my heart rise. I think there's something I think we underestimate football. We think it's all about winning. It's the grace and beauty of it when it's played really well. It is.
Absolutely.
I would see it in terms of ballet.
Yeah.
matching
A
ballot.
good game. A good game.
Okay. Well, we
Right.
had a drink. By the way, who's going to win the thing? Would you say?
I'm saying it's between Germany and Spain.
Well, which? Okay, I'll go for Germany.
I'll go for Spain because I love the football. I love the way they play football.
Aye, they do. They really play it well. Germany, geez, Germany, when they hit their stride in terms of organization.
Are the most efficient. Their football teams are characteristic of their nation.
Isn't it interesting?
The trains run on time and they run on time.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I hope the Italians get a bit further forward because they're wonderful. If they win, they're wonderful. And if they lose, they're equally wonderful. You know, they get so upset.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, let's move on to another thing that's getting some people upset. It is a mere 1,500 men, or maybe there's 1,200, I'm not sure, marched in the public street, and we were told that these are members of the UVF. Yeah. You probably thought, Pat, that the UVF had dissolved, disarmed, and done all the things they're supposed to do in 1988. But you're wrong, because there's only 25 years gone past, and they're busy transitioning. That's a question of, you need money to transition. So you feed money into them, and one day, one happy, glorious day, they will have completely transed. Right? Are you happy with that?
Yeah. Jude, I find it, and what Jude, right. The whole thing, I actually started thinking about 1,500 men on the Newton Ards Road on a Saturday morning for whatever. Somebody said it was one thug telling another thug to get out, but it was also whatever. 1,500 men, black ties, white shirts, black trousers, black shoes.
Wonder where they got that idea.
Exactly. But Jude, that is a uniform. No matter what way you come at it, it's a badge of identification of some kind. Right. Where's the PSNI and the PSNI, all the rest? Right. Here's really the point. Pat Cullen, who stood for Sinn Féin, was given a grilling on the Nolan show. The newsletter has been bashing her non-stop. Bobby Story's funeral didn't last. The coverage, the hysteria around because Sinn Féin members showed up, but the hysteria didn't last an hour, didn't last a day, didn't last a week, didn't last a month. Jude, had lasted well over a year, and it's still referred to and all the rest of it. But 1,500 people show up, and it gets a cursory mention, and and so on. But where's the single unionist politician who seemed to pile in on everything to do with nationalism and all the rest? Where's all of the absolute hysteria about the threat of 1,500? Where are they asking? Where's these people were supposed to be disbanded, supposed to have gone? Where's all the money that gone to these social projects? Who stopped the money and all the rest? Here's the point, Jude, really what I mean. Can you imagine for 1 second if 1,500 Republicans gathered on the street of Ardoyne and stood there and whatever on a Saturday morning and so on? You can imagine the absolute firestorm in the media and the political circles, and there'd be sort of conferences between Dublin and London and Belfast and all about what's going on and all the rest. And I'm sort of saying, the hypocrisy, I'm throwing in Pat Cullen because I'm sort of saying, there's sort of the hypocrisy, the double standards, and as well as so many people in the media and even on the nationalist politicians seem to go along and accept this. I think it's ridiculous. I really genuinely do. The bigger threat, as far as I'm concerned, is not Pat Cullen, who's been asked to condemn something they already done 40, 50 years ago, but 1,500 men on the street last Saturday morning, and that's the lesser.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, I think, this is my interpretation of it, there would be a lot of unionists, well, not necessarily politicians, but unionists who would be quite pleased with that, because they know that the one thing that maybe might, in their minds anyway, might put a brake on all these moves towards a united Ireland would be the fear of a military backlash from the loyalist paramilitaries. So if these guys do a nice big demonstration of how many of them there are, how orderly they are, that's good news. Maybe that'll put a damper on the Tigs and their push for United Ireland. So that's why I would say you didn't have unionist politicians coming out and condemning it. With regard to Pat Cullen, I think the reason they are so against her is that she is so outside normal criticism. Like, she's from Carrickmore, but she worked as a nurse in the hospital in
She's
Belfast
no
during the
baggage
Troubles. She
whatsoever.
was busy binding up the wounds of everybody who came
Yeah.
in. She then was a representative in England. I mean, the woman's just clearly a very classy woman who was not politically involved to this point. And everybody, I would say, including the unionists, thought when they watched her as a spokesperson for the Royal College of Nursing, they thought, by God, that woman can talk. And now, oh my God, Sinn Féin have got her to go running for them. What can we do? We'll find a way of nubbling her. Let's ask her about, something that happened. Maybe will we do the hunger strike, or maybe we'll do something else. Actions of the IRA, nurses that the IRA killed. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, the hypocrisy there, Jude, I find unbelievable. Like, Pat Cullen didn't murder any nurses. She wasn't involved in. So know what they really want to do. They want to get at the IRA and the Republican. They want Pat Cullen to have a go at something that happened 40, 50 years ago, for which she was not involved in. She's not in all the rest of it, and no way connected with it, and so on. And you're going, this is sort of it's a sort of, what would you say, Jude? A decoy, and all the rest. And I'm going, wait a minute. Did anybody ask Sir Geoffrey Donaldson to condemn 50 years of unionism? Did anybody, ask Gavin Robertson last night? Would he apologise for the 50 years of storming discrimination and bigotry towards Catholics? Would they ask David Trumbull about the role of the RUC and the Troubles and the B specials? Nobody ever asked. Would they apologise for those? They never asked that. And then I hear even some people asking, the reason Sinn Féin is getting, because they are going into government. Well, we had people like Geoffrey Donaldson in government. We had David Trumbull in government. We had what do you call him, Robinson in government. Why aren't they asked to apologise for what their predecessors done?
Yeah, the whole idea is nonsense. The very idea of condemning, what the hell is it? That went on throughout the Troubles. So I really got on my wick where they say, do you condemn such and such a thing that happened? And it got to the point with the Oma bomb, where Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness both said we condemn this. What does that mean? What does that mean? I condemn it. Are they assuming that you think it's a great thing that people lost their lives?
Yeah.
If you don't condemn it.
Yeah.
And if you do condemn it, does that mean you really totally... Those are only words, for God's sake. Wasn't it De Valera said to take the oath when you're going into the British House of Commons or whatever? Or was it the Stormont of the day? And have your fingers behind your back when you're saying...
That's what he said. But just look at the other thing. Martin McGuinness took on... after he signed the Good Friday Agreement, remember there was a couple of sort of micro-type Republican organisations, and McGuinness absolutely slammed them and all the rest. Where's the unionists slamming the 1,500 men? Where's all out front that we totally condemn this and all the rest of it? This is thuggery and all. Not a word. It's when they're asked, it's yes, we condemn it. But there's no outrage. It's all a fake.
Yeah. It plays into the fact that there's an election on, and that they want to find some ways of damaging the other candidate. Somebody said that Pat Cullen would romp home. Would you agree with that or not?
No, Jude, that's a very tight constituency. What do you call her? Michelle Gildernew only won it by 50 votes the last time. No, I don't know. I think there might be a couple of demographics changes, but Jude, romp home. I don't think romp.
No romping. I agree with you completely. I think she'll win, but I don't think she'll romp.
Jude, now we're on this subject, and I'm not up to speed on it, but see this riot and about marching back to the Orange Order, marching back to the Orange.
I've tried to understand that. What's your question?
No, I'm not. That's what I'm not. I know they had been in discussions with the the Cara group in West Belfast and so on. But I picked up the Orange Order guy, Spencer Davis. No, that's a group, isn't it? Spencer someone. He was on yesterday, and he says, this is they wouldn't even discuss it. But apparently, Jerry Kelly is basically saying these people, seem to think that they've got a right to march. Jude, here's the question, and let's leave all this aside. Let's get down to the substantive question. Why does an Orange Order want to march through a nationalist area?
Well, here's the question. It's because they are the Orange Order and there are nationalist areas. That's the name of the game. It goes deeper. Well, there's two things. One is, as I understand it, between the two sides, there was the Orange Order did something similar to what Israel talked about. It's a periodic, a temporary halt to hostilities, a temporary halt to parading in front of the or down shops. That's the way I interpreted it, gone on for some years. And now they've decided this is the moment at which to go out the hell with it. So now going to march. That's the first thing. The second thing is this, and I'm sick saying it. And every time I say it, people, anytime I've said it in public, at any sort of meeting on Nolan or anything, they go mad. The Orange Order is an anti-Catholic organization. That's its rules. That's how it came into being. And in every way, it is an anti-Catholic organization. Now, why on earth do we try to airbrush that? Why did Leo Varadkar go up and solemnly admire the history of the place? In a way, I can understand, because the average hunter, the average orange man, goes out in his family and it's a nice sunny day and he's got something to look forward to in the summer. But at the same time, he should be made to face up to the fact that, well, they won't allow women into it for a start, and that it exists in order to stoke up Protestant dislike and contempt for the Catholic population. What the hell are we doing? We're nearing the middle of the 21st century. And this organization, which was founded on the deaths of 30 Catholics, a clearly sectarian organization, is allowed to just march on. And we're really grateful that they only confine themselves to certain places. Geez, if the Ku Klux Klan tried doing that, surely people would rise up in arms against it. But it's okay with the Orange Order.
Yeah, well, Jude, surely the first priority or the first thing should be in any organization, march where you're welcome, not where you're not welcome. But by the way, Jude, you said something there. David McNary was on a program, and I think she was Southern Irish. I don't remember, but you can look it up on Google. But anyway, bottom line of it all, she said something about the Orange Order, and he says, "Hold on a minute, that you're saying there that the Orange Order is sectarian. It's not sectarian, and I'm not going to stand here and accept this." And she says, "Right, David, here's the thing." She says, I am Catholic. Can I join?" He says, "No." She says, "I am a woman. Can I join?" And McNary put down the phone. By the way, so in other words, with two questions, she blasted them out of the water.
She got off late, I'll tell you. Because you remember, I made the same point a long time ago on the BBC. And he jumped up and said, "You are a rebel. You've made me very angry."
You are a rebel. In other words, you're not entitled to your opinion.
Instead of responding to the charge that I'd made, he just threw a hissy fit. And I think the reason for that is that there is no answer for it. Sometimes what you'll hear them say is that in the Westminster Confession of Faith, there is a lot of stuff about anti-popery as well. But that's not an excuse, really. If the Westminster Confession of Faith has that, and it's the same as the Orange Order,
but that was written when was that written, in 16 something or other?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There are people, you wonder, are they trying to turn the tide back? Are they seriously convinced of the things that they say? Or what?
I don't know, Judd. I really don't know. Like, it seems, what I think is that there seems to be two rules, particularly in the media and political circles. If Republicans do something, and by the way, I'm not here to stand up for Republicans. I'm having a bash at the other thing. There's absolute outrage, and it dominates the news cycle and whatever. Well, now let's do it, Jude. the third item, you know, on the news, it's something else. The general election takes precedent, and the PSNI have confirmed. No, this is about the third item on the news after maybe Northern Ireland playing football or something. And meanwhile, PSNI have confirmed they're investigating an incident last Saturday where 1,500 men type thing appeared on the Newton Ireland roads. It's if it's no importance.
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, let's move on to another one. There's an election going on, as you may or may not be aware. Do you see any of the leaders' debates? Like there was a debate last
No, Jude, watching the football last. And by the way, I turned it on at the start, and Ed Davey and he started on about tax things, and I just shit, I'm not going to sit here and listen. So I turned over to the football.
I find it interesting. Ed Davies, I found, although I don't agree with his politics particularly, I find him a kind of a nice enough man. The thing in which they were going to hang him on the hook was that the Lib Dems had promised the end of tuition fees. And then went into government and they did nothing of the sort.
They dropped them,
and he had a sort of wriggle on the end of that particular hook for a while. But then John, what's his name?
John Sweeney.
Sweeney came on. And I was certain he would get a bad time because, I mean, this was an English audience in somewhere in Yorkshire. He was very convincing. It was caught him one or two things, but he was very, very effective. And I began to wonder, why did they get rid of this guy? He was able to answer all the questions. He brought up Brexit, and he had the audience applauding at several points. An English audience, mark you. So I thought he did a really good job. I thought the worst of the four was Starmer. Starmer really did sound like a Dalek. You know, this thing where he is like a robot. It got his voice. Maybe it's just the way he talks. But
I don't believe he's oath either, Jude. I just think he's sorry for cutting across you, but I think I can't tell it. Basically, he's replaced the Tory party as far as I'm concerned. He's no longer Labour. It's not even close to Labour.
No. The thing that they nailed him with, as soon as they got Ed Davies on the promise that they get rid of tuition fees, with Starmer, they got him on his statement when he was in the shadow cabinet of Jeremy Corbyn. He said that Jeremy Corbyn would make a great prime minister. And if you'd see, your woman of Fiona Bruce, fair play to her, asked him several times, you know, have you changed your mind? And he wouldn't answer the question. So I tell you, he was exposed as a total bloody ambitious fraud. That he would say his leader was a great man. I believe he was a great man in some way. He had his weaknesses, but he was a good man. That he then would wriggle and pretend that he'd never said it almost. I just sort of contempt for him.
Do you know one of the reasons I'm not that interested in watching it? There's a guy come on the other day. It was John Curtis, the professor guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he was on RT. No, it's not just that. There's several. They're saying that the Labour Party could have the biggest majority in almost parliamentary history. That somewhere they could have a majority of someone well over 300 seats. You know, Boris had a whopping great majority, but you know there was about a third of that. You know, they're talking. It could be almost a wipeout for the Tory party. And I think Starmer's he's like the defence. He's not interested in saying anything. All he's making sure is don't give the Tories and the media anything to go with. So he's not going to say anything controversial. He's going to cruise into Downing Street. So I think his whole aim is it's yours to lose, if you know what I mean.
Well, it is his to lose. If he does get a big, as they say, he's going to get a really big majority. That has its problems too. It's hard to deal with a party that's got made up of so many people because there's going to be people who have got reservations
for jobs and all the rest.
And there'll be people who will have held their noses and said, "Well, we want our lot, the Labour Party, to get in, even though your man is their leader." Starmer may be somebody who they're holding their nose, so to speak.
By the way, to cut across you for a second, how did Sunak?
Sunak, very, very interesting. Sunak, the thing they tried to get him on was this gambling debt. Or gambling bet that was made. And it seems 3 people were involved in it. And they were saying to him essentially, "Oh, well, why don't you deselect these people?" And he dodged and weaved and ducked and didn't answer it really. I actually think this. I don't think it really matters a damn whether he kicks them out or not. He's not going to win anyway.
No,
But
and he
the
knows
point
that.
is this: what are they getting hung up on? This matter of a couple of guys take a piddling bet on what the election is going to be called. Even they had a bit of insider knowledge. It didn't make them into multi-millionaires.
Not at all.
At the
But
on the time that they were striving to make this bet good, Rishi
yeah.
Sunak probably had made another 5 million probably without lifting a
And by the way,
finger.
apparently, Rishi could be on course to, as one of the first prime ministers ever to lose his own seat.
Well, it could happen. Could happen. He looked like a defeated man, you know. God, I felt sorry for him. I really did. Although one of his faults, funny Pat, was the opposite of what John Sweeney's was. John Sweeney connected with the audience in some way. He didn't fawn on them, but somehow or another they warmed to him. But nobody warmed to Rishi Sunak, and Rishi Sunak didn't make any effort to do it. Starmer did. Starmer tried to walk in close to him and what was your name again and so on. But Rishi just doesn't have the common touch.
No.
You get the feeling he's probably quite a capable guy, but he doesn't.
Judy, he was up somewhere about Sunderland and apparently had a rucksack on his back. Now, Judy, I go, if I was buying a rucksack, I'd buy one at 20 quid. Apparently his cost 700 quid. It's one of them, and he was up some working class area. And what he tried to say that he had been a deprived childhood because he didn't have Sky. You know, Jesus Christ, dude.
I read that.
By the way, here's one thing too that and you brought up as well. Notice thing, the one thing, we were at the thing last Saturday morning, the Ireland's future, and remember Brendan O'Leary said it was the consensus amongst all the people of, the economists that he would regard as people who know what they're talking about, that Brexit's been a disaster. Yet, Jude, the B word is totally absent from this campaign. What's your opinion on that?
Not totally, fact. Not totally. It came up. It came up in the leaders. None of the candidates bring it up, but some of the audience brought it up and brought it up very directly and said, why don't you accept the fact that we're really, our economy is destroyed because of Brexit? And why don't you do something, if you're not talking about rejoining, at least mend fences and have closer cooperation with? And they got a rousing round of applause. That's the thing that amazes me. That happened on 2 occasions, I think maybe with 2 different candidates. So there is an increasing openness to say Brexit was a total balls up and we really should do something about it. The thing that's keeping them back, Pat, in my opinion, is they don't want to admit that they really made such a huge gaffe, that they sold a pup as well, that they told lies about it. So in every way, Brexit was a disaster. They want to cover it over and pretend it didn't happen, And it's like a dog out for a walk, instead of picking up with a plastic bag, they're scooping it up and putting it into the bin. They want to throw a cloak over it and walk on,
Yeah, but you think, Jude, right? There's been no growth. There's been no investment. I think of Britain is at the bottom of the pile of the G7 richest countries and so on. And apparently they're borrowing this year is off the scale, right? And yet you would think that would be a massive issue and so on. Okay, but it's Starmer won't say anything about it. Sunak won't say anything. Yet, I presume if Starmer gets in, one of his priorities, without question, will be trying to forge new relationships with the EU. But then Rachel Reeves, who's his deputy and going to be the next Chancellor of Exchange, she says we have still got our red lines, no sort of freedom of movement, no joining the single market and all the rest of it. But she wants the EU to do a deal with them, but they're not willing to move for the red line. So, it's the old Brit arrogance there again.
I think when they get into government, when they get the votes, I think there'll be a softening of that. Okay, Pat, there's just a few minutes left, and I want to come to an item that I think you and I will disagree on, and that is this question of Irish neutrality. What they mean is 26 county neutrality, of course. And there was an article in, I think it was Irish Times, and they said really the world is changing, and we shouldn't, that is the people of the South, should not be depending on the armed forces of other people to look after them. And they said that they have only got one ship to patrol extensive maritime economic zone. They don't have any ability to patrol their airspace. And essentially they're saying we should the people of the South should formally commit to becoming part of an EU, I suppose, army or NATO or whatever. Now, will I say what I think?
Go ahead.
Okay, very quickly. I think Ireland, the south of Ireland, should disband its army. They really should. And now that would mean an awful lot of people would have to be paid a lot of money. It's like the RUC. You know, you've got to pension people off. You can't leave them just dangling. You got to find work for them of a similar nature, but whatever. But I think the idea of Ireland encouraging men to go out and learn how to kill people is kind of obscene, actually. And besides that, as the article points out, they haven't a chance. Ireland, if there was any half-strong country attacked Ireland, the south of Ireland wouldn't have a chance. They wouldn't have a chance. But you could lead the world by saying, we believe that all international problems are going to be solved peacefully, just as business problems, just as marital problems, whatever. There might be bitter antagonism, but they solve them peacefully. So that's my bet. What do you think, Pat?
Disagree totally.
Okay. We have only 1 minute, 40 seconds to disagree.
We cannot patrol our own airspace, as you said. We have one ship, apparently. We depend. It's ridiculous. We depend on the RAF to patrol our skies and keep us safe. Right, Jude, the Provost took on the British Army for 25 years, so you don't have to be massive. You have to be smart. I think the definition of our neutrality is non-membership of NATO, yet we depend on NATO to protect us. I think there's a sort of hypocrisy. I think we need a big debate. We've got big wires, transatlantic, communication wires down from the Cove of Cork to America. Who's going to protect them if Russian submarine come in some morning and cuts the shit out of the lines and we have no communications? Right? We do. We're living in a changed world.
Yes, I agree. If that big cable, transatlantic cable, was to be cut, it isn't cut or hasn't been cut. I gather there was some suggestion that it was. I don't think it was. But in any case, having an army wouldn't solve that problem. I just think Ireland has a chance to lead the world morally.
To defend ourselves. Every nation has got the right, should have some sort of defensive system.
Well, I don't think Ireland could defend itself.
Well, we have about 7 million people on the island of Ireland. Jeez, if everybody took that attitude, nobody would defend each other.
But Russia has nuclear weapons.
But they're mutually exclusive destruction if we do that.
Okay, Pat.
All the best.
Okay.
Good luck.